What up, what up, what up? Real Fans Podcast back at it again. It's summertime. We're celebrating here on 4th of July weekend. It's kind of weird. I don't know how you feel about 4th of July on a Thursday, but we're here. It's the weekend. I'm your boy, Gabe. That's my co-host right there, Julian. What's up? Say what's up to you and to the people.
I love that it fell on a Thursday because then I had to work Friday, but the Friday was like a weird, like basically nothing day. You ever have those that where it's just you just kind of sit around?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it even worth it going into work Friday? Like, is it that like where it's so awkward? Like, I hate having my birthday on a Thursday or something. You know what I mean?
Dude, my job is so weird. If there's any holidays midweek, we don't get the long weekends. But I work from home, so it's not the biggest of deals. But it's just like it's so weird. Like we don't get Black Friday off.
Oh, that's
cool. But we get Thanksgiving off. I know, I've never heard of that. But basically, everybody's like, yeah, but that Black Friday is like, we let you guys go like 4 hours early or whatever. Yeah. So,
yeah, man, it's a weird day to have on. But we're here. We're celebrating. Obviously, we're wearing our Panthers gear. We haven't really talked yet about the Panthers gear, so we just want to recap on the Panthers thing because, yeah, man, I know you went out there. So let's talk about a little bit of the Panthers. Obviously, 2020-24 champs. They got a little tight. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna hold you.
Real quick, I feel like Gabe, you appreciate this. You know, I kind of started this mini thing, thrift find of the week. Got this one, baby.
I saw it was the Marlins one, which is the old official.
2003.
Oh, 2003.
The legit 2003, basically mint condition. I found it. Got for $20. Not bad,
man. Yeah, not bad. Especially the retro. I don't know the new Marlins stuff. I don't like any of the new Marlins gear, but we're wearing the old cat. I got the old cat tee, but this is a newer hat. I'm not happy with this cat, but you know, whatever. So let's talk about the Panthers, man, because let's talk about the playoff run. How scared you were. I know my butthole got tight, a little tight there.
I'm sure.
4, game 5, game 6, a little tight, a little squeezy, a little. But let's talk about the Panthers' run and obviously them being champs for 2024 season.
Dude, I was convinced we were going to lose. I was like going into Game 7, I'm like, it's chalk, it's done. Like history has been written. You got basically the fucking Messi of hockey going absolutely nuts the entire playoffs, and then those last 3 games 4, 5, and 6, and it was a wild run. So the first 3, we looked great, man. I mean, pretty much came out of that Ranger series and just hit the ball running, or hit the puck running, I guess, and absolutely started killing it. I thought, man, we're about to get the sweep here. I mean, at the same time, you had the Celtics about to perform the sweep, and the Panthers about to perform it. They lost that final one away, which, you know, with the sweep been nice, yeah, but I wasn't terribly surprised. You know, like, you're going to give up one eventually. At the end of the day, they had probably the best player in the league, in the world, and you know, they were going to get one. But then there was like another one. I'm like, okay, like we lost at home on Game 5. Okay. It's going to suck that we can't, win it. We got to win it on the road. But then we lose on the road. And I'm like, what the fuck, guys? Come on, guys. But you know what? Yeah, you're right. You know, they wanted to give us a little scare because I tell you what, if they would have got the reverse sweep, I would just stop watching. Like, I'm taking a break next season. I'm not watching next season if that would have happened, because no, you're not going to trick me again. The past few years have been a little disappointing. I don't want to say they're like, I mean, obviously they were great seasons, but like, you know, when it came to the playoffs, they were like, you know, kind of disappointing how the way things ended in certain series in certain ways. But yeah, I mean, I will say, it was the second time. I'm drawing a blank on the name of basically the playoff MVP trophy. I don't know if Gabe, you can
the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, the Conn Smythe Award. I think it was the second time ever an ice player won it
from the losing team. Yeah,
on a losing team versus I think the only one. I think
there was a goalie.
Person was a goalie.
Yeah, a goalie in the 90s from the Avalanche, I believe. And if you look at the picture, he looks pissed. Let me look up that picture.
But yeah, Connor McDavid didn't even come out to get the trophy. Rightfully so. One thing I will say I like about the NHL playoffs, I like how it's a playoff MVP and not a finals MVP. And I wish the NBA did that, because to me, it means more of what you did over the course of the playoffs over just like, a 5-game stretch or 6-game stretch, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I mean, I don't know.
I like the playoff MVP idea more, honestly. I've always kind of liked that more.
Yeah, they were saying, playoff MVP and then like a finals MVP. I guess, but there's history with it. I guess they'd have to make a new award for it. NBA does this shit too, where they save the awards all the way up to the end and they pick the last one. I'm for it, against it. It honestly doesn't like if they do it like it's perfectly fine. I don't know. I'm still fine. Like technically, I think it should still be okay that a losing team. Like a losing player gets on a team. Now, I think more of the conversation should be: did he actually earn it? Like, because he disappeared, right? He disappeared those last game 6, game 7. He didn't score at all, and you gave him the Conn Smythe. But then the argument is, well, he scored a bunch, getting them into the finals, so he should be recognized for his contributions.
He also played every single game you could play in the playoffs too.
Yeah,
all the way down to game 7 in a finals. But anyways, like I was hoping our man Bobby would get it. Absolutely had an amazing playoff run again, but obviously that Connor McDavid run was pretty wild. I mean, there's especially some games in the finals where he was just dominating. He was just clearly the best player on the ice.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of like my thoughts with it. I was like, it was nervous, but the boys got it done, and yeah, I mean, I guess kind of like what was your thought process to everything that was going?
Overall, it got tight, man. I knew the shit turned for me game 4. That game 4, I was like, man, I want them to win as quickly as possible. So if they can win 4 games, that'd be perfectly fine. Game 4 was on the road in Edmonton. But the way they lost is what really turned me. I was like, oh man, you lose ugly. They had to pull the goalie, I believe, after this in the second period. That kind of turned for me. I was like, you still want to win because obviously, you'll be champions forever. But I think people were gonna, slowly fade away, like how actually tight it was, like how actually like disastrous. Because it seemed like when the Panthers were winning, they were winning by just tight margins. But when you're losing, it was a fucking blowout. So it's like, if you do actually win,
it was bad.
I think. Obviously people who hate the Panthers are going to be like, oh, that wasn't a real win. You guys got fucking blown out all the time. You barely squeaked by, which is, I could see arguments for both. It's weird because, I love the Panthers, so I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But, I mean, I think there is some merit to that. Because when you want to win, you want to believe that your team wins all the way. They had no trials and tribulations. Everything was on the up and up. But those blowouts are really tough.
Our path was way harder too.
Yeah,
way harder than Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean,
Boston, New York, Tampa, like we went through the hardest path for sure.
But the Oilers got through Dallas. Oilers got through Dallas, which was a good team from the beginning of the season, and everybody was saying they should be in the final.
Dallas was a good team, but they were also shaky all playoffs. Like they were squeaking by all the way to the conference finals, and honestly, we should have met them in the finals, but Edmonton showed up because Dallas decided they didn't want to play when it came to playoff time. But like, say Dallas did go all the way to the finals. I mean, that's one hell of a fucking path. Like it wasn't no easy path. I mean, New York, everybody knew the East was the tougher side, and then like I said, having to go through Tampa, which historically
they've had our number, especially recently. Yeah, they're back to back,
and then Boston, which is always a tough series for us, but we beat them last year, and then we beat them again this year, and then New York, which was supposed to be, a title contender. So they can say what they want, whatever. That path was way harder. Not to take anything away from Edmonton, make it all the way, and no one expected them to make it to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
but that's kind of where I'm.
And I did appreciate both storylines on both sides because, obviously you have the best player in hockey. That was the storybook ending. It was him winning, him winning a Conn Smythe, him winning MVP, him winning, raising the cup would have been the storybook ending. I think NHL fans would love to see.
Just coming back to Canada. Yeah. Come back.
Yeah, first time. That's another storyline. First time coming back to Canada in however many years it's been since the 90s. But also, I think Florida had a great storyline as well. Like, this is our first one in 30 years. Last time been in the 90s. The Panthers have been revving up for this. It's been like 4 or 5 years now. They've been raising the bar of like,
lost last year.
First, we couldn't get into a damn playoff. We were always 5-6 games out of a playoff. Then we finally get in. I was like, just get in. At least you're in. And then, they get past the first round. That was our next goal. Just get past the first round. And then we started actually showing up in the finals. And it was like, okay, now the bar is raised. Like, we have a young team. And it's like, it seems like in these sports, like, you only have a couple years. Like, they talk about dynasties, right? You win 3, you get a dynasty. But that's pretty much it. It's not, teams don't usually reign. This is like not the 1970s NBA where it's just the Lakers and Celtics. Teams don't reign for a long time. So you have like a 3-4 year window to be active. And it seems like for the past 5 years, the Panthers have made strides forward. And us losing, I mean, I'm grateful that they got into a final, even though we lost decidedly. But obviously you get so close, you get that deep, it's very fucking disappointing. So it's like, if we win, we got to win now. So that's what I'm saying about this series with the Oilers. Is like, when you lose, you get fucking blown out. Like, it's not even close. It's like, god damn, like, this window is shedding very fast. But, in the end, they pulled it out. I think they played more like themselves Game 7. Like, that was more of reminiscent of the first 3 games that we saw. They were able to shut down. Obviously, they're fucking playing, I think they had their front 3 was like Hyman, Draisaitl, and McConnor. Like, they kept them out there. I don't know how the minutes ended, but these guys were fucking smoked at the end. And which is weird because in those blowouts, fucking the Oilers looked like they were out conditioning the fucking Florida Panthers. Even though the Florida Panthers are tough, they're a tough team, a gritty team, but they looked like out conditioned. Like, they looked like in better shape and condition, games 4 through 6. And then come game 7, they're like, fuck, we're gonna lose with our best player, which I don't mind that strategy. People might get mad at the other coach for that. I don't mind that. That any other strategy that works in baseball. It's like game 7, put your best pitcher on the mound. In basketball, fucking run your best team, run them all the minutes. Whatever. In any sport, you want to put your best players on the ball, give them a chance to win, and lose with your best, man. Lose with your fucking best option. You can't win. That was our best. Like, I mean, like, it wasn't like anybody else was outshining them or outplaying them. So it was tough.
I thought the one thing with the Panthers that really hurt them towards the end there is like I felt like they struggled to score, man. They struggled to score and get shots versus like leading up the entire playoffs and even the first few games of the Stanley Cup was just like we're out shooting and we're outscoring everybody. Like, the offense was killing it. The defense was always kind of our weaker side. Not that we had a bad defense. Like, obviously, our guy Ekblad, a stalwart back there, and Bobby. But, like, that was a little bit more of the weaker part of the team versus that front 3 for us is just so strong. And to see that later half, I mean, even that final game 7, I mean, we only scored 2-1 on that game.
Yeah.
And so you started to see it taper off. But luckily, the defense came together at that very last game and able to at least hold them off for as much as they can because they were really getting outshot for a few games there. But like you said with that window thing, it's like the Panthers, like, it wasn't just like an overnight thing, too. This was like a slow build that Zito helped build to become what it is and like making minor moves and changes and tweaks to finally get over that hump because you make it to the first round and get knocked out by Tampa. Make it to the second round and get knocked out by Tampa and the President's Trophy run. And then you make it to the final. You lose pretty bad. And then you finally make it and win it all. So it was a slow process. And obviously, I think the one thing that really helped us get over the hump is as much as I loved Huberdeau watching him over the past like 10 years that he was here, that Matthew Tkachuk trade really helped get the Panthers over the edge to bring in a star player that can play at the highest level alongside Barkov and Ray and everybody on there. And from what it looks like we're running it back for the most part. People are re-signed. People are still in contracts. So they have the opportunity to run it back and potentially get the back-to-back. We'll see as the offseason progresses if there's going to be more changes and stuff. But as of right now, it seems like everybody's kind of staying. For the most part, the core team is going to be staying and running it back. So, it's not like we just celebrate and then it's all over again. and then it's not going to happen for another 30 years. I think there's a real chance we're a realistic contender coming into this next year, and I'm really excited about it. I do want to mention I went to the parade. It was awesome. It was really cool. Estimated 400,000 people there. I think that's a little bit of a reach, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to gauge when you're in this massive crowd, but it didn't feel like that. It was a journey, I tell you what, a venture to get out there, because we parked in downtown Fort Lauderdale and pretty much walked from downtown Fort Lauderdale all the way to the beach. It was about a 40 to 50 minute walk. And then mind you that it was in the middle of like downpour rain. So it's stopping and going. We finally make it.
They shut down the roads. Give you context, right? Because it was like the parade was like 11 to like 1, but they shut. They're like, we're shutting down these roads at like 8:30 in the morning. So if you're not there at 8:30 in the morning, all the roads are gonna be shut down. I think people were out there camping, not even just like 6 in the morning and stuff.
Yeah, and not even just the roads, but the traffic was just so bad. Like you had to. There was no like parking on the beach. Like you had to park on the mainland and walk over that bridge. Everybody did for the most part. And look, I get the vibe, and it was a cool vibe to have a championship. You're the only team that can do that. Maybe Tampa could do it too, but like that could have like a parade on the beach. Like that was cool. But my God, it was a shit show to make that happen. Because I get it for the vibes, but man, it would have been so much easier just to have it in downtown. It would have been so much easier.
And I like the two. Obviously, even for the NHL All-Star when they had it here, was it a couple years, 2 years, last year ago?
Last year.
Last year. They they took advantage of the beach. Obviously, being South Florida. And I know the players enjoy it because they can be a bit more anonymous compared to like if there's some other like Boston or some other Edmonton or some other big ass hockey town. I enjoyed it, man. Like obviously it would have been even better like to even fucking stun on these hoes if it was like shining out there. You know what I mean? Like the weather was up. But I think it's a bit fitting, like for it being Florida in the summer. A bit fitting, especially with the ending of their season. I was like, you know what, this is great. Like, let it fucking rain. Like,
no one's stopping us.
Yeah. The shit. We're gonna roll. This train is rolling.
It's part of the adventure too. The way I looked at it, it was just like, it makes it even more unforgettable. Yeah. It's like it was downpour, fucking torrential rain. It was cool. Got to see the trophy up close. Got to see all the players really close. A friend of ours. And a friend of the show got to actually dap up Bobby. Yeah. I tell you what, you don't realize how skinny that guy is outside of his goalie gear because my God, that guy can't be more than like $120.
Some of them, some of these players are big. They're like 6'3". They look like NFL players. They're like 6'3", whatever, 260. But some of those players are just regular. Like I know. Was it Forsling? Oh no, Lomberg. Lomberg is like, bro, the guy's like 5'9". He's ripped. 5'9", but he like a normal. He wouldn't stand out if he was walking by Publix. He wouldn't stand out.
Well, I think too, like goalies are generally not the biggest guys. You think they were because they wear all this shit and everything, but because they wear all that shit, you also still got to be mobile,
flexible,
and you obviously do the splits and everything. And I guess that's just end up being skinnier guys. It's one of those things you just don't think about because you just see like this little head on like this fucking big ass thing, but. It makes sense, man. It makes sense. It's a shame you couldn't come out to the parade and witness the festivities, but
maybe on a Saturday. If it would have been on a Saturday, a little bit easier on the schedule.
But any final thoughts on the Panthers, man?
Nah, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of transactions, a lot of free agents that went away. So I want to see what the teams looks like. They did make some big signings, and they seem like.
A lot of re-signs. Yeah. Re-signing.
I don't know if they're going to be able to run it back. I mean, that's tough to go back-to-back, even though they lost the first time. Go back-to-back, run it back, but at least they'll be contenders. Like, I think people will put them in a higher regard coming next year, which is, the expectations is higher. So, the bar has been raised. So, that's the level of expectation that I expect them to meet. So, I expect them to be at least competitive and go deep, at least make another Eastern final run.
This should be a contender, yeah.
Yeah, for the East 100%. At least. So man, I'm looking forward to it. I look forward to see all the pictures on Twitter, as they celebrate with the cup. I've seen some of them. I saw Bob Luongo was in an Italian restaurant or something. He
Yeah.
had a whole pizza pie, a whole spaghetti in there in the cup.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to that guy. The only
Yeah.
retired number in Panthers history. Even though he didn't play, he was a part of the team.
Yeah. He was still an executive.
Assistant. His title, I feel like it's just like it's a respect title. It's like I don't know how much he does, like, but it comes off as like assistant to like sports management or assistant to like general man. I don't know. It was assistant.
He might be an advisor. He's just high advisor.
Yeah, I think it was advisor. I think you're right. It was like an advisor, but it's just one of those like the guy's a legend. Put him in the get him some title, give him some job or something.
I mean, that's like the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have Giannis Haslam. He's in charge of player development and stuff. So he's still there, even though he's not technically on the bench. He's not a roster guy. I don't think he even travels with the team, or not
even like a core GM or nothing like that. Yeah, scout or whatever.
He's still around the building. Him, just like Zoe. Whenever you see Pat Riley on a road game, you always see Zoe right next to him. So, I'm glad, even though we couldn't get him one while he was playing, as great as he was playing, at least he got to get it as an executive. He'll get a ring, which is it's like, damn, I wish you would have got the real thing playing, but whatever. This second prize is not that bad either. Always had the memories, man. Always had the memories.
All right. Well, while that went on, we also had the NBA draft, and I don't know about you, but at least for me, I felt like I saw a little bit more hype around the draft this year. As somebody who doesn't follow it that deeply, I felt like I was getting advertised to it a lot more. But I guess one of the big things coming out of this, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, was more and more Europeans are coming in, and this year, specifically the French, a lot of people are testing because the success of Wembanyama this past year. Why there's more French players, but I think as a whole, there's just been obviously more and more larger influx of more and more Europeans coming in. But I guess, what did you think of this draft as a whole and like the idea of the quote unquote French invasion? Do you think it's hype because of Wembanyama? Do you think it's justified?
I mean, it's not going to be hype. I mean, obviously they're making connection, obviously from the previous. This is just the NBA. This is the growth of the game, right? The game is growing. Yeah. You've made a bigger impact.
What they wanted.
Yeah, this is when you guys are playing internationally, or you have these future games, kind of these exhibitions that go on internationally. Like NBA is a global brand, it's a global sport, and people around the world are playing. And that you should be grateful for that. That rises everybody's boats. Now, these NBA players should feel some kind of like prestige of like, oh damn, like you thought it was just bad to get a job. Whatever, the thousands of millions of people. There's only hundreds of thousands, a couple thousand players in the NBA. Like you're fighting the world. It's like you have to be the best in the world. It's not like you're the best in the United States. You got to be the best player in the world to play in the NBA and the best league.
The title is actually starting to mean something when you actually say the best player in the world.
Yeah,
it's starting to actually.
I think last year, was making fun of one of the runners. I forget the young guy. I saw him. Nick.
Well, his one
of the sprinters. He's like
Lyles.
Yeah. The Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
We never talked about that, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Maybe we can go like super quick. Yeah. We don't have to like do it. But look, as somebody like me who watches international sports, I agree with him entirely. I want to get what your thoughts are on that, because we never talked about it, and I'm kind of curious.
He has a point, but it's not like we're having the Olympics every year. Like, yeah, you play the best. It takes 4 years to rival, but these guys, like I said, with the NBA, this is an international game. There's international players that come. The best, they're not playing scrubs. Some of these guys, they're not getting a Bronny James from Russia or something to come play in the NBA. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, man, that's the benefit of having an international game. Everybody's playing it. You're gonna pick the best talent. Obviously,
so you think if you win the NBA championship, you should be called the world champion?
Absolutely. What other league is above? What's a better league than the NBA?
Here's my rebuttal to that, and this is why. And I think just because of our like what we watch and stuff, in the Premier League, the best league in the world, the champion of the Premier League is not called the world champion, because it is not a world competition. It is not an international competition. And I think that's what he was trying to get at, is that is at the end of the day, it's called the National Basketball Association. It is an American-based thing. You can't say you're a world champion if you never even faced the best of other places. While yes, the NBA is the best league in the world, 100% agree. I mean, I remember growing up when those NBA teams used to go to Germany or used to go to France or whatever. They would give them some fights. And all I'm saying is, if we look at college basketball, for example, and March Madness, just because you're a part of the ACC doesn't mean you can't lose to Oral Roberts. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of my wonder, but it's like, it's not a world competition. If they did a basketball club World Cup where you had the best teams, the top 5 NBA teams, the best teams from the Euro League, teams from South America, and you win, sure. When there's a club World Cup, when Manchester wins the club World Cup, then they're world champions because they played the best from South America, the best from North America, the best from Asia. Then
you're doing a semantics argument. Technically, no, by definition.
But that's what it is. And the thing is, I heard somebody say, "Oh, but all the international players go, like there's international players, people from all over come to go play in the NBA." Well, yes, people also go all over the place to play in lower level leagues as well. The Euro League just has just as many international players as the NBA does, if not more. That argument is kind of flawed. While yes, the best international players go to the NBA, but the concept that just because the NBA is international, has international players, does not mean it is like, therefore it's the world champion. No, because like if you use that logic, then the MLS can say they're the world champions, but they're not. And I think unless it's a world and even Greg Pop, he said this. He's like, look, man, you gotta win it's a world competition, the Olympics, the World Cup, whatever it might be. That's kind of where I am, because you have a guy like Noah Lyles who actually faces, people from all over the world. So when he wins, he's truly a world champion.
I mean, it still doesn't negate
not just some closed system that knocks that all their purpose is to do is to just generate money. So therefore they buy the best player. Like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
I can see both sides. But I don't see any NBA players jumping over to the Australian League. I understand players who, maybe on their second, maybe for certain reasons, maybe because they gambled reasons, or maybe because other reasons, they go to other leagues. But the majority,
they can be the best team in the world.
The concentration of talent is in the NBA, and until LeBron James plays in some league in Uzbekistan, like, NBA is going to be, that's where the concentration of the best players in the world are.
I will say this: you could be the best team in the world, but you're not a world champion. And that's where I'll end it off. But anyways, back to the actual draft.
The actual draft. So, yeah, I think overall, I don't know, people are saying this was not a good draft, like, except for, once you like leave the top 5 players, and it kind of, there's like a big ass drop off. So, yeah, it's kind of like always with me, man. I'm never too big on the hype. It's like, wait and see. I want them to roll out the ball. Obviously, as we record this, obviously it's after 4th of July, so Summer League is going to be starting July 12th, so this is like next week, essentially. Summer League is going to start in Las Vegas. So we'll see. And even when players start playing Summer League, I still don't even put a lot of, don't bet the house on a player that plays well in the Summer League. That's just a guy fighting, for 13th, 14th, 15th spot on a team.
Let me ask you this, in terms of like the French play, and like that's kind of what the big talking point is. Like, do you think it's just going to continue? Obviously, not even just France, but I don't know. Let's say France for the sake of the discussion. Do you think it's just going to continue to happen, and these players are just going to get more looks, more so than college basketball? Because in my opinion, I think yes, but I'm curious to hear yours, and I'll tell you why I think that.
It depends. I don't know what the scouting, what the scouting looks like for each team. Obviously, again, I want to have scouts everywhere, so it depends on how large the scouting and development team is internationally. Obviously, there are people out there that are watching games. I don't think the NBA is doing it as a whole, like as an entity. It has to be like individual teams. I think people are gonna look. They're gonna look for talent anywhere. You know what I mean? You're gonna look for edge and advantage anywhere, especially now with the CBA. I don't know if you've seen it. It's gonna be harder to make trades. It's gonna be harder for It's gonna be either draft or free agency. It's gonna be harder to make trades in the NBA, like we're seeing now. So you're gonna have to put stock. You're gonna have to invest in looking at international players or talent everywhere. I don't know. Now and that's another discussion too that we've kind of been talking about for a while now is college. Now that players are able to make money, is it even worth it monetarily? Is it fiscally responsible to even get out of college and go play in the NBA? If you're not a top guy, if you're not, you might make more money. You might make more base salary a rookie, than a rookie league playing in the G League compared to playing in the G League or something else. So. I think you're going to see more and more of it. I think this is not just like a fluke thing, a one-off thing. I think that more and more internationally, we'll see other players coming from international sports.
For me, I think this is just an indictment on how the development system and the college system is honestly just a broken, outdated system for us. I think overseas, they've always just done it. They've always done it better, and it makes sense. And I think it's finally catching up, because the idea that these players have to go to college just so these colleges can make more money, it just stunts their growth. If you're good enough to play in the show and you're good enough to play in the professional level, then you should just be able to go. And I think also the way that we develop players, and I hear a lot of people talk about, and you're starting to hear GMs explain why they're starting to go after more European players, is these guys, like these Wembanyama's and the, I don't know the guy's name who drafted number 1 overall pick. Is drawing a blank.
Rush.
Yeah, it's a more difficult name. And then the 3 other guys that were after him. These guys are being developed at young ages and playing at pro levels. Like, they're playing alongside professionals. They know what it's like to be a professional, travel, day in and day out, getting paid. You know what I mean? There's a certain level of being in college versus being an actual professional versus these guys in Europe. Like, they kind of treat basketball the same way they do in soccer. And that's how I kind of have this background knowledge. Is like, they're more interested.
Look at Doncic grew up like his dad played.
Yeah, he played in Serbia and then got bought to Real Madrid and then played at Real Madrid from 17 to 18 and then got drafted.
Yeah.
They teach you how to be a professional, because here it's like, all right, you play well in high school, then you go to college, and then you go to the NBA if you're good enough. And I think the way we scout here is you're always looking for the best player. You're trying to find the player with the most talent, and we're not really interested in developing players. We're always looking for who's already got it, who's naturally got it, who's always good. They're not actually interested in trying to make somebody great. And I think over there, when you're a teenage, like here, you see these guys, man, they're playing like 3 AAU games a day and like constantly playing off and on, just trying to get as many points, trying to get highlight tapes. It's very individual based versus there. Like if you go to the academy, like say like their academies, you work your way through the academy and then eventually you make it to the first team. And they're more interested in trying to make you a better player instead of just, you got to keep on playing. So people, because here you constantly have to get scouted. You got to get scouted to like make it to the next step. Because if somebody doesn't see you, then you got to, and I think now that is catching up to us because you're having more and more NBA players who did that growing up, who are constantly injury prone, taking rest days. I think people want to equate to them being soft, and I do think there's a level of that to it as well. But it's also, these kids are playing a lot more than they ever did before because they feel the need that they have to show out and play 5 AAU games a day or multiple times a week and stuff. Instead of actually resting and working on your craft and working on your skill, you're just playing games constantly. You're not actually taking the time to develop and fix those things. And I think that's just really catching up to us, and why you're starting to see more and more NBA scouts looking over there, because like, look, these guys are playing professionally. They're playing in hostile environments, and they already know what it's like to be a pro.
Yeah.
Versus, and I mean, I'm hoping that the G League can kind of become more of that, and I think that's why NBA is trying to push the G League more. Is I'd rather see a player go to the G League and then to the NBA because, like, I mean, like we talked about, the college system is just, it's just kind of like a fucked up system. And honestly, too, well, for sure, playing in the Euro League is a higher level than playing in college. It just is. It's really right below the NBA.
Yeah, like I mean, there's going to be men. There's men in there. Like,
yeah,
compared to college.
Men who've played, former NBA players. There's going to be former NBA players who maybe couldn't make it in the NBA, go to Europe. There are people who are just stars over there. Like, it's a higher level. So, like, I will trust getting a Wembanyama who played at a higher level than somebody who played at, like, Duke, for example. Because, like you said, they're grown men. They're either former NBA players or potential NBA. It's just there's a little bit more competition there. But I think it's going to keep on going.
And that's why I want to say, like, it seems like, obviously, if you're watching tape, obviously everybody's watching college. March Madness is obviously one of the big staples in U.S. sports. Well, let's say it's like that's where everybody's watching, right? So if to gain an advantage, you have to watch where nobody else is watching. So these teams have to scout internationally because everybody's watching March Madness. And like I said, if there's incentive for college players to stay in college because they can make more money or whatever, you can make more money in college than playing in the G League. Obviously, it's going to be harder for players to pop to leave college, and that's what I'm saying. Like internationally, like there's going to be more push of pulling these international players, like you said. They're coming out of these academies, like. Luka Doncic's dad played with Goran Dragic, so Luka not only did he go through the same, like as a kid he grew up watching it, and then he actually went through the process himself. So I can understand, I can say, I'm not saying sitting here like I'm watching all the Serbian leagues, but I can
100%.
I can tell you, in America, it seems like, it's always one and done. The best players are always one and done. You're 17, 18, you play 1 year at Duke, and then you go to the NBA anyways. So it seems like if we're pulling from college, it's only like the best of the best players, unless it's a bad draft where it's a crapshoot. You don't know what the hell you're gonna get, and even then, like you get a Shaq out of college. Like Shaq, his first 2-3 years is not gonna be prime Shaq. Like obviously there's gonna be space for him to develop, but I can understand how you say being a more competitive league with older players, with playing against actual men who play positionless basketball. Obviously, that's going to raise the level of talent, raise the level. So, like I said, I think they're going to see more and more international players, whether they're from France or some other place. The trend is not ending.
And I think, too, not even just their players coming here. I think there's going to be more of a wave of our players going there. Like LaMelo Ball, I could potentially see more LaMelo Balls doing that. I mean, if you can go play over there and make money and you're young, play at a higher level, and then come back over here, I really think that's the future. I think potentially that could happen. And because if you're a player, I think we're just more accustomed to it. You want to go to play college ball. But if I could see a world where things eventually change, where we're already seeing it with like the G League, for example, people just going straight to the G League. But like, if you really got it, and maybe you're not really quite ready yet for the NBA, I could see somebody like a LaMelo Ball just going over there, playing at a higher level, and then coming over here and seemingly has been playing well. I mean, you probably follow him more, but like it seems like to me that he's a talented guy. He's clearly the best ball. Like, so, yeah. But yeah, and you even see it with the NFL too. Like the NFL over there, they're setting up academies. And not teams, because you realize the team shit just doesn't work. You need academies, man. You need to like teach these kids how to play, or things that they're fucking up on, instead of just looking for the guy who just has the most talent. You need to, and you might find a diamond in the rough, man. Like,
and obviously you have to set up academies, because if you're not setting up a league, the league is going to be run by the clubs, right? It has to be Miami Dolphins setting up an academy. If you're not going to have like a European league, then obviously these academies are going to be important for you to gather, international talent like that. Because we talk about the NFL like it's, Roger Goodell setting up a team. It's like, no, it's like the team has to have its own subsidiaries, just kind of like how the NBA, the WNBA is mostly run by the franchises as well. Like you're not going to see a WNBA team that's not in a city that doesn't have an NBA team. Right? It's going to be Atlanta, New York. It's going to be Phoenix. It's going to be LA. It's not going to be Sheboygan. You're not going to have a Sheboygan team.
Yeah, and that's why I really like what this is a tad bit off topic. But that's why I like the UFL, and I want to see the UFL thrive and succeed. Because even if you don't watch it, if you're just a viewer or just a football fan, you want a place where if I think it was crazy for so long. Like if you just weren't good enough for the NFL, you're just done. Like that was it. Like, and sometimes players just need more time. Like it is what it is. Sometimes I see it in other sports. You see it in baseball. You see it in basketball. You see it in soccer. In football, it's like, if you're not good immediately. So the idea of having the UFL is so good because sometimes guys just need time. Sometimes you should just be throwing a guy out there. And then on top of that, the reason why the UFL was so rough to watch, when it was the XFL and the USFL separated, it was kind of rough to watch because a lot of these guys weren't getting minutes. No. And if you're not getting minutes, you're going to look rusty. And now if you actually have a system where guys can, work on their craft, develop, become better, those leagues are going to be good. You know what I mean? Like they're going to get better because now these guys are actually getting minutes versus just like, imagine you're a backup quarterback in the NFL, haven't played in fucking 2 years, and then people expect you to just hop on
and it's like it's basically like a switch. Just turn it on. It's like, you need reps. You need reps, live reps.
Or if you just want to make a living, you're just not good enough to make it to the top. You need that pathway. But
let's talk about. Can we talk about somebody who should have gone to international play? This Bronny James. I mean, we gotta talk about this guy.
That's not a bad shout. I'll be honest with you.
We haven't discussed it yet. Obviously, this is one of the biggest things. Obviously, ESPN's gonna run anytime you have to say LeBron James. They're gonna talk about it. I saw Stephen A's top 5 of what Bronny's gonna call LeBron on the team. It was like number 5, 23. Number 4, Pops. Number 3, Daddy, or some shit. I don't know. I don't know how you feel overall about Bronny James. Obviously, he was playing at UCLA,
USC,
USC. Sorry, in California, USC. Obviously, with him, having a heart attack. I think it wasn't in season. I think it was like an off season workout, and he obviously had a heart attack. Just let's talk overall about Bronny going 55th overall in the NBA. I don't know how you feel about generally Bronny James. Do you feel like the LA Lakers are making a mistake by drafting him in the second round? What are your thoughts on Bronny James?
All right. People want to talk about the nepotism stuff and all that. Yes, it's a problem. Do we like it? No, not really. Obviously, did he deserve to get drafted? Probably not. But everybody knew that for the past few years that LeBron wanted to play with his son, and that LeBron has so much pull and leeway, and every team he goes to, he's going to get what he wants, and he got what he wanted. And I don't want to dive too deep into the nepotism because it's just like it is what it is. It's nepotism in sports. You see it mostly in coaching, but this is the first time you're kind of really seeing it in sports. But I'll take that back. You also see it in players too. Like people will take a flyer on somebody's son just because they're somebody's son.
Yeah.
Just because. But look, man, I'll say this: the Lakers deserve everything that has happened to them. They deserve every ounce. They've cared clearly more about brand and image and making money than actually putting a good product on the court. This whole LeBron hype and now bringing the son and then all these other stars, aging stars, trying to thinking that it's going to work. This shit is not going to work. It's not like LeBron's not the same guy anymore. His son is, I don't want to say he's not good enough, but he's not ready yet. For sure. Like, honestly, like what you said, maybe he should go to Europe. I don't develop more. But to me, the Lakers deserve everything they have coming. They struggle to make the playoffs. If they do, it's just a play-in one-off. And all because they're more worried about trying to sell jerseys and be talked about than they do actually putting up a good product.
Yeah, it's gonna be a spectacle. It's gonna be a spectacle. Yeah. It's weird 'cause like I said, with the Lakers, the Lakers are more mom and pop than you think, right? This is not like, remember I've discussed like other owners have made their money like doing realty. They sell medical products. Miami Heat. He has a damn Carnival cruise, but with the Lakers is just that is their moneymaker. So, and obviously they're trying to appease LeBron. Overall, I thought my thoughts are maybe Bronny James might be an NBA player, like a fringe NBA player. I don't know, worthy of a second round pick. But obviously they're trying to sell seats, right? There's going to be sizzle of, were you there when Bronny James and LeBron James, were you in the seat? Did you watch them play together? There's going to be like, kind of like not a spectacle. It's kind of like
no, it's going to be
a circus act. It's like a circus. Like come see the bearded lady or something.
Honestly, have you ever seen like? I've never been to a Lakers game. I don't know if you've been to one, but like I've seen a bunch of videos from it. It honestly, the way that environment is set up is like it's a circus. It literally just looks like a circus. It's just music constantly, flashing lights all over the place. It's like, bro, it doesn't even look like you're going there to watch basketball.
Yeah, people go there to be seen. It's kind of like the Knicks. Like people go to the game to be seen, right? There's always top celebrities.
Can't even talk to people.
It's an expensive ticket. It's an expensive ticket. So I guess, it's kind of, there you go, your social, I got money kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's going to be a traveling show. Like you said, for the actual product, I don't know. Like, I think he's a fringe player at best. The fact that he got drafted high, I think he would eventually make it. To give him credit, let me give him credit. At the draft combine that he got invited to, that he probably shouldn't have got invited to, I think he had the highest score in dribbling and shooting. I think it was like he was like ranked number 1 in the skills, dribbling and shooting. So he might have the NBA skills to do it, but the hype I'm not buying into. I'm not buying into the hype.
I don't give a shit about like what you do on your own. Like, I mean, look how many like street dribblers you see.
Yeah, do
like,
that shit around Wemby. Dribble around Wemby. Let me see you try to lay some shit up around Wemby.
Bottom line, the guy was averaging like 5 points a game at USC. Like, look, I don't want to say that he can't potentially be a solid NBA player because he's still young. You never know what the future holds. I just think he's being thrown into a situation that he's just not ready yet. And he might not even play, honestly. Yeah. I think the best thing for him is to probably go down to the G League. Honestly.
I think he's playing the first half.
But no,
he's getting minutes. Yeah. The first half of the season, he's getting minutes.
Because the Lakers, all they care about, they don't give a shit about the product. They do not. They've made that abundantly clear. I don't understand how people watch them. I don't want to, I don't know. Some people like the hype, though. For me, I want my teams to win. I don't give a shit about, who my team has. And, but, I mean, that's kind of how LeBron and the LeBron fan base is. He gets what he wants. He controls everything, but man.
Well, that was the whole deal with it. And, cause the people were saying that what's his name? I can't remember. That the agent was calling around saying, hey, if you draft him, he's going to Australia. Don't draft him. The Lakers are going to take him. Don't draft him, which is kind of a threat. And, they're saying most teams are like, yeah, don't worry about us drafting him. We're not gonna draft him.
I'm good. Yeah,
we're good.
I'm good.
But also, that was always a piece, because that's what I'm saying. The whole drafting Bronny was never ever about Bronny. It was always about LeBron, because they're like, whoever drafts Bronny, it could be an indicator of where LeBron wants to go, right? I actually think he's going to stay in LA. I think that's his last landing spot. Unless, he has some weird... That's
where the money is. Yeah. I think he has some sort of weird... I think the Lakers saw the dollar signs that came with bringing LeBron James. And LeBron's probably getting some sort of cut off of it. I would not put it past it. Be honest with you. It's probably illegal. But I'm sure something's happening. And the thing, too, is the guy is untouchable. He can do whatever the fuck he wants because the NBA is not going to... NBA came up with a random-ass playoff format just so he could be in it.
Yeah.
So he's going to get away with murder. It just is what it is.
And, we don't know how many years left. Maybe he has 2-3 years left of actual playing time. I hope he doesn't get to, where he's, doing, the Michael Jordan tour where he's just playing with the Wizards or some shit, or doing the Shaq tour where he's playing with the fucking Suns or some shit.
Honestly, I think LeBron should retire. I don't know.
We got a year with his son, maybe a year or two with his son, unless he does.
I think he might do a year. Honestly, I could see this happening. He does a year just to do it. But could you imagine that locker room dynamic too, or like coaches and like it's trying to like say stuff or do stuff, but like you have this like big figure and ego over here that is LeBron, and like I feel like it's gonna be a locker room nightmare.
And to add
nightmare.
No, Bronny signed for a 4-year, $7.9 million contract. So he signed for 4 years in the NBA. I think most of it's guaranteed too. I think he had the highest guaranteed money ever by a 55th round pick since like since like Patty Mills or some shit.
They're gonna get their money back for sure. I think this is all what it is, just a money play. It's not a sporting play at all.
I'm fine with it. I just want to see now. Now I'm at the point like everybody knew who's going to the Lakers. It's not a surprise that he went to the Lakers, and they're like, shock! Oh my god, the Lakers drafted. It's like I want to see how many minutes now. I want to see how many minutes and how long this goes for.
I think
he's playing. He's playing that game one.
He's for sure going to play, even though he shouldn't. He's for sure going to because of that.
I want to see how.
Can you imagine the hits like LeBron gives an assist to Bronny or vice versa or whatever it might be like.
And we didn't put this on the thing, but did you want to talk about JJ Redick signing? Obviously them having a podcast in the middle of the season. I think this podcast started in the middle of the season. LeBron always wanted to have a podcast with JJ Redick, and all of a sudden JJ Redick now becomes the head coach. And people are saying, he was obviously auditioning coaches. So that's gonna
see. Look, man, and this is what like I get. You guys are NBA fans and stuff, but like this is what I mean. That this is a glorified reality show. Like this is like literally what I mean. Like there's just no sporting aspect to this anymore. Almost
they fired fired Darvin Ham, and they're like, we're gonna look internationally everywhere, up and down, inside closets, outside, under. We're gonna dig in the ground. We're gonna look for a coach. And who is it? It's the guy we have a podcast with.
The guys, that team, they're gonna be so ass next year. I'm calling it. No shot they even get close to the playoffs. Do you think they get close to the playoffs?
Man, I don't know. Let me look at the West. Let me see how the West stacks up. They're still.
They didn't make. Did they make a play in? I can't remember.
No, they missed. They missed.
There's no way they're making it. Yeah. And that's embarrassing considering 66% of the teams make the playoffs now.
Yeah.
And you're the bottom third, and you do nothing about it. Essentially nothing. Like it's wild to me. How long do you think all this like circuit until LeBron retires? Probably.
I'm thinking it's for the next 2 years, dude. At least the next 2 years. If Bronny signed for
finally
4,
like buckle down and like do something serious.
At least 2 years, and then
This is the Harlem Globetrotters right now.
Yeah, they
lose.
The Lakers and Genie Bus. They're looking at like right now, like they just want to sell tickets. They're gonna the price is going up. All right, the rent is too damn high. The price is going up on them tickets, just for
the ain't paying enough
until they start losing. That's what I want to see. I want to see how many minutes he's playing, and then how long he's playing for. Like if he's actually, I think he's gonna start, dude. I think he's starting. Write it down right now. In July, July 6th, 2024, Bronny James is starting game 1. He will be starting. There'll be 2 James on that court.
I think he gets on the court. I think he gets on the court. No shot he's starting. No way. Like, I think, first off, I think the image is just going to be too bad. I think that's going to look way too bad. No way he starts. Like, could you imagine how, like, I mean, in his best interest, like, do not, like being so for real.
Just say, hey, they do that. Gabe said it here first, even before the summer league starts. Gabe said it a week before summer league starts.
Does he even start?
Bronny James will be starting.
Does he even start in the summer league?
He's gonna play, man. Everybody plays. Draft picks play. Draft picks play.
Does he start?
And everybody's and that's another thing to watch too. Is you can see who's gonna go ham, who's gonna try to posterize Bronny James. Everybody's gonna go for his throat.
Oh man,
they're gonna make a name for themselves in the summer league.
This is going to be our last NBA topic. All right. There's been a lot of talk around South Beach and the 305 about Jimmy Buckets and Jimmy Butler. Should he stay? Should he go? There's a little contentious issue with, I believe, Patrick Riley. Am I right?
Yeah. Why do you call him Patrick? Don't call him Patrick. It's Pat.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why.
That's weird.
Did that. I don't know why.
Weirded me out, man. Patrick Riley.
I don't know why I just did that, to be honest. You know what it is? I think because they're both old white guys. I think like Patrick Stewart.
Oh my god.
Like fucking like
Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart. And I think I'm saying Patrick instead of Pat Riley.
Now I got an image of SpongeBob in my head. Now I got Starfish.
I think that's just what fucked me up. But anyways, yeah, what is your thought? Should Jimmy Butler go? Should he stay? How do you handle this?
Obviously, with Jimmy Butler, everywhere he leaves, there's always a wake of chaos behind him. Obviously, with him and the Timberwolves, him and the 76ers. I think I'm going to believe Jimmy at his word. When he says he wants to end his career here in Miami, I'm going to believe him at his word. But that doesn't come with headaches. That doesn't come with strife. Obviously,
I don't buy that he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
The issue is that, Pat Riley, usually with his premier players, Pat Riley plays his players, right? If he has money on you, he plays his money. That's a quote I think Antoine Walker used in an interview one time. Pat Riley's like, Pat Riley, Antoine Walker had to come off the bench. He's like, no, I'm paying you. You're gonna play. You're starting. You're playing, and that's the biggest thing with Jimmy Butler, especially with the injuries. A lot of the load management, like injury versus load management. If you're gonna be the premier player, you're gonna play a lot more. So I think that's the main issue. But also, we're coming towards the end of Jimmy's. We're rolling down the hill of Jimmy's prime. So it's like how much more do you have to give? Obviously, I think I think acquiring him has been a success. He's gotten you to NBA Finals. Obviously, he didn't finish the job, but acquiring him has benefited your team. Now, as we talk in the summer now with all these acquisitions, we haven't talked about the Knicks picking up Mikal Bridges, giving up every kind of first round pick from here to 2031. Some 11-year-old out there is going to go to the Knicks someday. The Heat haven't done a lot. We usually Pat Riley doesn't like going to the draft to get his talent, and picking up big acquisitions, big trades. They end up giving a lot of assets like draft picks and whatever mid-level money exception.
Really, I feel like he likes the draft. I feel like he finds a lot of gems. I feel like he finds a lot of gems.
As of recent, recently, the Bam Adebayo, Precious Achiuwa, whoever we want to say, Duncan Robinson. As of late, they've been
Tyler
Hero. Tyler Hero. Yeah. They have been playing, which is kind of a change. But as far as the big moves, Pat Riley's always at the end of the season talking about he's hunting for whales. He's whale hunting. They haven't made any acquisitions yet. Now there's rumblings, of DeMar DeRozan. Possibly there's rumblings of maybe a signing trade, a double signing trade. Today, as we open up the cameras today, we turn them on. Caleb Martin signed with the 76ers, which is, he's a decent player. I'm not going to shit on him. I'm not saying like...
not the end of the world.
Yeah, not the end of the world. He was good for us. But it seems like the 76ers are getting... And it seems like we're in another year. The East is getting better. And, it seems like Pat Riley has his hands clasped and he's rolling his thumbs. It's like... everybody else is getting better. What have we done so far to improve? Are we just going to run it back? We'll roll the ball out and run it back? Because it seems like, it wasn't good enough last year. Is that good enough this year? Is it just Bam getting better? Is it just, these players getting better? So, like I said, there is tension now with Jimmy Butler. Like I said, I'm going to believe him at his word. He said he wants to end his career here. I'm going to believe him. I think he's going to give, one thing I won't fault Jimmy, especially in the playoffs, is effort. I would never fault him his effort. But it's going to be a long.
The big issue is the effort.
Yeah, let's roll out the ball. Let's get through at least half a season. We're not even in the summer league. Let's get through half a season where he's missing games for maintenance or whatever. Pat Riley's become restless. He's becoming. He wants to see performance, and so that's a contention right now. So we'll see. I don't know if they're going to make moves. I've heard of a possible double sign and trade. I don't know if that involved Caleb Smith. But yeah, I don't think anything as far as Miami doing any big things. I don't think it's going to happen until at least halfway through the season, at least until the trade deadline. There's not going to be any big acquisitions on the Miami Heat side. So it seems like the East is getting better, and Miami Heat will just have to wait. So
yeah, I know what I'm probably about to say is going to be sacrilege, but I think it's time. I think Jimmy's time's over. I don't put it past you that at least his time's over here as a Miami Heat player, because I don't put it past you that he wants to retire here. Why not? I'm sure he loves Miami. That's not the issue. The issue is this guy consistently for how many years now is missing 20 plus 30 games a season, leaving the team on the brink of not making playoffs consistently in a year. And if we do make it, it's through play-ins, and then once you get into the play-ins, you're going through the toughest route possible. And I think what Pat Riley wants, and rightfully so, is you want a team that's at the top. You want a team that's at the top 3 spots, get the easiest path to the final, because you're all about winning championships. And yes, Jimmy Butler does show up in the playoff. Jimmy is built different. He shows up in the playoffs. But that's clearly has not been the answer to winning it all. It hasn't. The Heat have lost in conference finals. They've made it to the finals. They've lost. They've continuously just not making it all the way. And you can say the argument that maybe there's not enough around him or the players are not stepping up, which, yes, there is an argument around that, and I agree with that. But when you have a guy, like you said, who's making a shit ton of money and is not playing, it's like, no, man, you're making – I don't know if he's making max, but he's making damn near close to it, I'm sure. Play, bro. Like, what? Like, come on. Like, it's your job. Like, play. Well, like, you talk about the argument of, like, should there be 82 games in a season? That's a whole other debate and discussion. But as it stands right now, you need to play more. And if he's not playing because he's hurt or injury prone, that's one thing. But if he's constantly injury prone, I think it's time to move on, because you need that guy to take you over the hump. And Wells, yes, he's shown at times he can be that. And I wouldn't say that bringing him in has been a failure. It's obviously been a success in moments, but it hasn't been enough to really get the Heat over the next step and over the edge, just close enough. And I think it's time to just move on, because it's just gotten progressively worse, it feels like, throughout the years. And between the injuries or just not playing or whatever it might be, and it's making the Heat barely get in. And you don't want to be that. Like, look at the Celtics. Celtics were number 1 seed and they won the whole thing. And you know why? Because they played fucking, look at their path. Like, who'd they play in the first round? Like, they played the
let me pull
God,
up.
why am I trying to play? They played the Cavaliers in the second round, and then obviously they played the Pacers. Who the fuck did they play in the first round? I'm drawing a blank.
Hold on, let me pull up the bracket. They played the Heat.
Yeah. That's right. They did play the Heat. Well, speaking of. And it's like, look, man, that's how you win championships. You don't want to, like, grind out every single series. Your body takes a toll. The games take a toll. You need those easy routes. You need a team that can build around it. And, look, I don't think, obviously it's not just Jimmy, clearly, but I don't think he's really the solution anymore unless he's willing to take a step back and just be a role player.
Yeah, and I want
to be the guy anymore.
I want to apologize for forgetting the Celtic keys, because it just erased it in my mind. I hit all control delete on that, because remember they only won that one game where the coach Mazzulla was like, "Hey, you guys want to shoot these? We're gonna leave you open." That was the only one game that they won. They shot lights out from 3, and then they lost it. And then after that, I was out. They did the one game.
And I like Jimmy. I think he's a cool personality. I think he's fun. I think he's a good player. But look, man, you got to play, though. You got to play consistently. You got to set up your team for success. You got to set them up for success, not to squeaking in constantly. I think how many seasons? There was only like 1 or 2 seasons that we were actually like at the top. There was one season for sure, and I can't remember if there's a second one where we're actually at the top, like 1 and 2nd seed. But everything I believe outside of that has just
fighting,
been
fighting for that,
fighting to get in.
And I'm you know what? I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine with, like I said, with being a mid-level team, being like a 4 or a 5, being a mid-level team, and then expanding the playoffs. But what you don't want to do is barely fight to get in, and you barely get in, and then you're getting hit on the head with a number 1, number 2 with like a Bucks or like a Celtics, which is what happened this year.
Yeah. You're already gassed, once you get through that, trying to get to the end.
But hey, listen,
7.
I'm telling you, keep your ear out halfway through the season. Not now. KD possible. KD's possible halfway through the season.
I don't want KD.
Not right now. We can talk about it in December. We can talk about KD in December.
Like
right
Butler
now, as I say in July. I'm just saying in July, watch out for KD. Let's see if KD
that worked out in Phoenix really well. I will say that.
Listen, man. I'll take
that worked out in Phoenix really well.
KD plays. And he trolls.
All right, man.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about that jersey you're wearing, and then we can end the show there. So, Team USA. Talk about a little bit of Copa America first, and then we'll bounce over to Europe. A little bit of Real Fans FC little talk. But
I'm fine. I got to catch up on soccer, so I'm here to talk with you about it.
Gabe, let me ask you. So, we'll start with the Copa. What have you seen, man?
Copacabana. All right, so I've seen follow a little bit of it. I want to get into you about Team USA.
Ask me questions. You know what? This is the segment. Gabe asking questions about Copa America.
Okay. Let's start with Team USA, okay? All right, because this is 4th of July weekend, July 6th as we record this. What the fuck is going on? Gregg Berhalter. Go.
Berhalter. He can't even
Gregg with 2 G's. I just know Gregg with 2 G's. Go.
Gregg Berhalter. Yeah, the guy is a certified bum, and that's just kind of what it is. He's a terrible coach. Look, all right, so I got thoughts. All right, I pretty much agree with everybody in the entire soccer USMNT social media fan base. Gregg's got to go. He's bad. He's clearly not good enough. He's been outcoached by tactically and his substitutions, his call-up. Well, his call-ups have actually been good, but the guy's consistently been mediocre at best. The big thing on him right now is he doesn't have a signature win. He hasn't had a signature win away, not even a signature draw. I guess you could say a signature draw was against England in the World Cup, but considering how England looks now and Gareth Southgate over there, who's basically the British Berhalter, he has been very, very disappointing. He got fired because of the domestic violence situation that came out last year, but then he got rehired again. The whole federation believes that he's the answer. There's supposed to be a decision or announcement being made next week, Wednesday about his
That's
future.
What I saw. I was like, well, can I just come in?
This guy's been invincible.
Yeah.
Basically.
After you lose the result, they're like, by the way, I went on Twitter and U.S. men's team was like, thank you to the fans. And I'm like, you just read the comments. They're like, fuck the fan. Like, you guys don't give a damn about the fans. Fire this guy. And it's like, we're going to wait for the results. We're going to wait for an investigation and make a decision on the future of men's. I was like, well, did you watch the whole fucking bracket? Like,
you got eliminated out of the group stage and say that you were favorited.
What more investigation is there?
Get out.
What more investigation is there?
The worst could have happened. Like, genuinely. Like, the bare minimum for this team was to make it out of the group stage.
All right. So,
they were in a group with Panama and Bolivia. Obviously, everybody expected them to lose to Uruguay, but it's like the bare minimum. And I will say this, too. Well, yes, Gregg is a lot to blame. I think these players, they've been coddled. They've been told they're the golden generation. They're the best, most talented squad the USA's ever had. But they're fucking soft. They're soft as shit. They're soft as that new blanket you got on Christmas that came out of the dryer. Like, they're so fucking soft. They have no grit, no heart. There's not a true on-field captain. And I think that plays a part of it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the reason because of that is because of Gregg. There's a guy who doesn't hold people responsible. He has the charisma of a fucking blade of grass. He's terrible, and I think he has shed light on that team where none of these teams feel like fighters. Like the USA teams before, they were way less talented, but man, they would grind out. They would be fighters. They would play to the fucking last whistle. this team, they feel like they just can't go over adversity. They can't punch above their weight. And in this sport's all about punching above your weight. You have to punch above your weight because there's always going to be another team. At these tournaments, there's going to be teams better than you. You have to upset people. You have to. This isn't the United States. This isn't like American sports where everybody's got a salary cap and everything's equal and all this. It's like, no, this country is leaps and bounds better than you. You need to compete and show up. And this team has yet to do that. And I do think a part of it's on Gregg. Most of it's on him. But I do think a part of it is on the players just not showing up, not being good enough. Like, he's putting out the right formations for the most part. He's putting out the right players in the right call-ups recently. I think his substitutions are very lackluster in the tactics. But there's a certain element where these players, at the end of the day, the coach can only do so much on the sideline. It's up to these guys to really step up and show that they can be. And a few of them have, but a few of them haven't. And as a collective, they clearly haven't. So
yeah, and that's what I say. Like, I think the writing was on last year. People were calling people when they, resign Gregg Berhalter. They're like, and they said like, oh, we're gonna look for as you search, and then like we're just gonna bring back the same guy over again. Like, people were kind of upset ridiculous. With that. And then
a lie, basically.
They lose last year and they're like, oh well, this is whatever. And like now what's looming is the freaking us hosting was it 2026
World Cup in 2026. Yeah,
us hosting the World Cup, and like this is the same results. Like, nobody liked them when you re-signed them. Then we have this result. I was like, what more investigation do you need?
A tournament that we hosted.
Yeah,
a home tournament.
Why are we waiting to make a decision on Wednesday? Like, you guys didn't fucking watch. You didn't watch any of it. You didn't watch any of the games. So like, oh, now we're gonna look at the tape and fucking. It's like, so I don't understand. Like, it seemed like maybe not a bad hire. It just wasn't like the greatest hire. And then like, now that we have the results in hand with the World Cup, with the cup looming, it's like, why? What are they waiting for? Why haven't we moving? Why is there no urgency to fucking make this change?
You have a once in a lifetime opportunity to change the trajectory of this sport more so than ever before. You had the Copa America hosted here, and then you have the World Cup here with a big league supported behind it. This is the most golden opportunity to change the view of the sport in this country. And they're squandering it on a guy who only coached in the MLS and had semi-success but lost in big games. He lost the MLS Cup. And then he pretty much fell apart after that. The guy who was never really qualified and got the job probably based off nepotism. You want to talk about nepotism? Soccer, the United States soccer, that is, it has so much nepotism. It's insane.
Is his brother on the federation or something? Like, his brother's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so a lot of people are pointing to the president, or I don't know the exact title, but Matt Crocker. He's kind of like the head guy who selects the coaches. So now people are going, basically, people want him out too because he's the one that's doing the hire. Basically, it's coming out that there was no coaching search. Essentially, they wanted a safe face because of what happened, what Berhalter did back in the '90s, and they're like, well, no one else is out there, so let's go just rehire him, which is not true at all. But if there's any time to fire him, it is now. If you don't do it now, you have 2 years, a little bit less now because the tournament's over, because the World Cup would be towards the end right now. You have just a little under 2 years. You need to bring in somebody now. And there's some guys out there. And look, we got the fucking money. We got the money because Lord knows that they do, because that's all they brag about. They brag about how much revenue they're bringing in, and then they're pricing.
They got the better fucking facilities, better grass.
I don't give it. Well, the thing too. Well, not even the grass. The grass has been terrible too. But like the thing is, what's been annoying a lot of fans too is like the price tickets as well. The price tickets has been outrageous for this Copa. Insane. Not even just Copa, but like any U.S. men's league. It's insane. But the attendance has dropped. But all they cared about was the revenue. They're showing like charts leaked out. It's like, we're doing better than ever. And you see like they've made like 3x the revenue, but then like attendance has dropped like by half. And it's just like, it's like you're pricing out your everyday fans. So like, how are you going to make fans first off if you're pricing out everybody? No one can casually go to the game anymore. And so it leaves with half-empty stadiums that creates basically a lack of an atmosphere, which is so important in soccer, is having such a huge atmosphere and a fan base. But it's clear that all they've shown is, just like the Lakers, they've cared more about pumping revenue and making money than they are actually doing it. So if you want to brag about how much money you make, actually put that into a high-quality coach. There's one sitting out there named Jurgen Klopp, who just coached with Liverpool, who is... I don't think it's realistic that he's coming, but even so, you don't even have to go after these star-name managers.
You got Mourinho.
You don't even have to go after these guys. There's a lot of quality that's still there that you can get for cheap, man. Yeah. It's just it's bad. But
what's up with the guy? He's the head coach of the Canadian team. What's his name?
Jesse Marsch. So, how much you know about Jesse Marsch?
I just know he's American. He's an American guy that got signed up by the Canada team. He's probably had more success, more on his resume than
yes.
Gregg Berhalter.
Essentially that. Jesse Marsch is probably the most successful American manager to ever coach at the club level. He coached in Europe for a few years. He was under the Red Bull system. So he first coached in the MLS at New York Red Bulls. He moved up to go coach in Austria for the Red Bull team there, and then eventually the German Red Bull team, which is like the best Red Bull team. They play in like Champions League and stuff like that. Didn't do too well there. Then he went to England and basically coached Leeds United, which he, under his tenure, got that team relegated from the Premier League into the second division.
Okay.
So
going up, trending up.
Not the best coach, obviously. And a lot of, at the highest levels, he wasn't very successful. Clearly, he got a team relegated. But he is way more successful than Gregg has ever been. And then on top of that, he has an identity. He's a leader. At the end of the day, he's a guy that will fight for his team. He's an emotional leader. He has charisma. And he's also his system and his tactics. He has an identity. He is very big on the pressing, like high tempo, high press constantly. So his teams, you got to be a runner. He's not a huge tactician. He's more so just bluster the other team, crowd them, attack them, and force them to make turnovers and then counterattack on them. No. Basically. And he kind of fits that Canadian team perfectly. And then shout out to Canada. Last night, watched the game. CONCACAF team to make it to the semifinals. I believe they're only the second one. No, they're not. But this is Canada's first time in the Copa America. This is their first ever appearance, and to make it to the semifinals is really impressive. Some people want to downplay their path or whatever, but at the end of the day, look, man, they made it. They overperformed than what people expected, and now they're playing in the semifinals, which is pretty impressive, especially for a guy who this is his 6th game coaching last night for Canada. So a lot of USMNT fans are wishing that they had him instead of Gregg Berhalter. So that's kind of the story behind him.
So as we record this, there's 2 games today. Colombia, Panama, they're playing in Arizona. And there's Uruguay, Brazil, they're playing in Las Vegas. Obviously, Canada will play the 9th. And then, the final will be played July 14th in Miami. So no Team USA, even though we're hosting most of it. Do you have any... looking forward, I guess, maybe you'll talk about this later on... Real Fans FC, but do you have any matchups you're looking forward that you think to note that I should watch maybe as a casual?
Definitely the Uruguay Brazil game. That's going to be a very interesting game because we are probably seeing the worst Brazilian team we've seen in my lifetime and in a lot of people's lifetime. But at the end of the day, it's still Brazil. This is still the most, on paper, the most talented team at the tournament. Probably right behind Argentina, actually, I'll take back on that. They're probably the 2nd most talented team on paper. Worst case, the 3rd most talented if you want to throw Uruguay a bone, because Uruguay is also a very, very good team. And this Uruguay team is very good. This is a really good Uruguay team. They're young. It's a new generation. They have players playing all over that are playing at high levels. They've looked very good. They've defeated Brazil in World Cup qualifying and Argentina. Are the only ones to... No, they drew Argentina, actually. But, that's the game to watch because I'm curious to see what Brazil team we're going to get because they did kind of show up a little bit last game against Colombia, but people were clowning them because our boys, Los Ticos, Costa Rica, drew Brazil 0-0. huge result for my my national team, my selección. Big for us. That actually ended up resulting into a lot of our players getting looks to big teams overseas. But anyways, that's the game to watch. I would watch that. The Colombia-Panama game, our fellow co-host Will on the Real Fans FC, he's a Panamanian. He's rooting hard for the team, diehard Panamanian fan, but I hate to break it to him. When we did our predictions for the semifinal or quarterfinals, it's like, man, Colombia's probably going to stomp them. So that one's not going to be as entertaining. But definitely Brazil, Uruguay. That's the one you want to watch. And then, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the semifinals when it gets to it. But actually, we probably won't have a show. So
we won't have time,
guess,
Tuesdays,
obviously, the semifinals is going to be Canada, Argentina, which is going to be a rematch from the very first game of the tournament.
And then whoever wins today,
pretty good.
Yeah, whoever wins today
Canada actually looked pretty good. So I'm excited to see if Canada's going to get better than they did in that first game, if they can really compete. But I'm anticipating, my guess, I got Uruguay winning. Uruguay's been my dark horse the entire tournament. I like that squad a lot. So I think Uruguay personally is going to get through. Then you have Uruguay, Colombia. And then that one's going to be a real toss-up because Colombia is probably the hottest team in the world right now. They're 25 unbeaten. So they're riding high right now. But yeah, man. Any questions about Copa, or you want to move on?
One last question. Mexico. I've heard they got a bad team. I heard they're worse than they've ever been before. So USA, Mexico. Okay.
Basically that. CONCACAF is down bad right now, honestly. Well, USA and Mexico are both down bad. Obviously, USA with the Gregg Berhalter situation, but then Mexico, bad, dude. Between the coaching, between the players, between the development, and man, we could do a whole podcast documentary series on why Mexico is bad. There's a plethora of reasons. Quick highlight notes. Basically, the Liga MX has too much power, therefore not allowing players to really be sent off and transferred to better leagues. They're staying home and getting paid more instead of taking less money going overseas because the Mexican league overvalues their players way too much. They overvalue their players and their leagues way too much. So where they're asking way too much so players aren't getting sent off to get better. The coaching situation is just bad. And then there's just no one in the pipeline. No one's really sticking out and showing out that could be really good. And yeah, man, it's I don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel. It seems like with Mexico, everything is finally crashing down on them. They've been getting by doing this corruption and system that they've been doing and overvaluing players and all this stuff for a long time. But the downfall of Liga MX has suffered because of it. And then, I mean, because of the downfall of Liga MX and players not producing as well, it's also hurt the national team because they've become tied, which they really shouldn't be. A league shouldn't have the same amount of influence as your federation.
No,
they shouldn't.
That was just that's all I've been hearing about. I guess we can finish this on the Euros real quick. The only thing I saw on Twitter was Ronaldo missed a kick and he was crying like a baby. People were I saw a little girl outside the stadium celebrating, like Ronaldo was crying all the way to the car or some shit. Can you tell me anything about the Euros?
Man, Euros. Look, man, I love the Copa America because it's the tournament of Americas. It's our tournament. But man, the Euros has just, in my opinion, has been a more exciting tournament. It's shown a lot more class, a lot more quality. Sure, there's been some really rough games, like the France-Portugal game yesterday was really rough. France officially eliminated Portugal. I think it's time for Ronaldo to hang up his boots for the national team because I feel that he is holding them back. Obviously, he has a cult fan base, just like LeBron, for example, where they say all these. Honestly, it's funny to read the comments, like my king, my leader, my all this other shit, like just absolute glazing of Ronaldo's insane. Same thing with Messi. But I think it's time for both those guys to really hang up their boots and let their teams move forward because, especially in Portugal, since they have so much talent and they weren't able to do much. But a lot of that, I think, is to the coach. France has been underwhelming. Spain, to me, has been the best team in the tournament, which I did not expect.
That's what I've heard. I've heard Spain got better.
Yeah, I thought France was going to be the easy winners, in my opinion. But Spain has really stepped up with this new generation. They look very, very good. Germany looked good, but I thought Germany looked susceptible, which is why believe, at the end. Spain ended up winning, even though it was a very, very close game and some questionable calls. And then we go to the other side of the bracket. Turkey has been the underdog story. They've made it to the quarterfinals. It's a team who I would say people always expected more from because they have a solid league, but always underperform when it came to international tournaments. Now they are actually playing really well. They are on a pretty much of a Cinderella run, have had absolute banger goals. They're playing the Netherlands, I believe today. Today actually. So that's going to be an interesting watch to see because the Netherlands have been very underwhelming. And then we have Switzerland versus England.
They're playing right
now.
Now.
Switzerland, England. That's also Switzerland, also another amazing dark horse team, that kind of underdog team that's kind of come through. They've looked very good. And England, they are lucky to even be here right now.
It's not coming home? It ain't coming home?
They're going to lose. I might be wrong. In our Euro predictions, I had Switzerland and Turkey advancing. I predicted both upsets on that side of the bracket. To have a Switzerland-Turkey semifinals in the Euros is honestly pretty wild. But England has just looked terrible. All of them, because England is the second most talented team in the tournament. I had them originally going to the finals. They should be a team that goes to the finals because they have way too much talent to be as bad as they've been. But it's all to Southgate, in my opinion. But man, I think Switzerland and Turkey are going to advance. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're going to do a full recap of the entire tournaments, both tournaments, full-length podcast for each one once these tournaments are over. And, hey, Gabe, if you want to join in and kind of understand what happened this past tournament, we're going to do that, and you can ask questions and stuff. But, yeah, we're going to pretty much kind of recap the entire thing.
It seems like
each one.
Who's copying who? Because it seems like the Euros and the Copa they always do it together at the same time. That they always have soccer on at the same time, like kind of a nation to build up to the World Cup.
No, this one lined up that way, but I think it's going to be a permanent thing from here on out. Yeah. And also, I don't know if you know, but the Copa is traditionally just South American teams. But it's always kind of lacked a little bit because they've either had to invite players. There's only 10 countries.
Yeah. And
some of them are not South good. American. Yeah, there's only 10 countries, so it makes the tournament very whatever, especially the group stage. Like I think the last one where it was just the 10 countries, the group stage, it was two groups of 5. The top 4 of each group advanced. So it was like the group stage was just really a joke. I think adding CONCACAF teams, the top 6, making it a 16-team tournament has made it way, way more interesting. And I think it's good for not just CONCACAF because our teams are starting to play higher level opposition to make, our country's selections better. But I think it's also good for CONMEBOL because they're going to make more money, more eyeballs, make it a little bit more of a bigger tournament. And at the end of the day, it's called the Copa America. Why not add both North and South? So I think so far, I'm going to say my thoughts for the recap, but financially, it's been really good for them. I'll say that much. And I like the idea of the inclusion of CONCACAF teams, not just because my national team is a CONCACAF team, so we would most likely play in those tournaments because of our level. I think it's good for us to be in those tournaments. But just in general, if you're a neutral, it's a lot better to see a 16-team tournament than a 10. It makes the group stage more entertaining, more exciting, just like the World Cup. I think the Euro format was a little weird. I didn't like the new Euro format. Basically, what they did was I think it was the top 4 best third place teams got in, which I didn't like because it ended the last couple games kind of just stinker games because teams were like locked in and trying to get in, and it didn't work out. I didn't like you gotta get top 2. If you don't get top 2, you're out. I don't like the best, because different groups range, different things matter. You know what I mean? So I don't like that. But yeah, I mean, it's been super fun. I've loved it. It's been honestly the soccer eclipse the past couple weeks. I mean, waking up, especially during the group stage. I mean, you had 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. It was like all fucking day. It was awesome. And then pretty much now that we've hit the knockout stage, you pretty much have 1 in the morning, 1 at night. So it's if you're a soccer fan, we've been eating, bro. We've been eating because there's been a lot of really good high quality footy action that's been happening.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to that Spain game because like I said, heard Spain's game got better. That looks
you
like
got
a
to
big
catch
matchup.
that.
At least
You got to catch that. Watch the games now. These are going to be really entertaining, fun games if you want to see upsets. I honestly, Gabe, I suggest watching every game. I think every game that's going to be on is going to be really fun. Even the Colombia-Panama, I think they can really put up a fight, and it's going to be a fun one. So,
you know what?
I'll try to catch as many as you can.
I'll take you up on that offer. I'm going to go right now. I'm going right now to my television screen. That'll do it this week, Real Fans Podcast. We're going to be talking, obviously, check out our brother podcast, Real Fans FC. They're going to discuss more on, they're going to know all the players and stuff. I just know general. I just see the Twitter stuff. I just a quick headline. So I'm going to check out the games.
Did you get lost in everything I was saying? Or
no. Listen, I hear rumblings.
I was trying to keep it neutral.
I'm the casual, just follow. I can't tell you. I just hear little rumblings of things. So, but yeah, man, Real Fans Podcast. Check out Real Fans FC. They're going to be talking more, especially next week after all these, the semis and the finals are done. So, yeah, man, we appreciate y'all checking us out. Thank you for subscribing on our YouTube. We're trying to do this more often. Obviously, we had a little bit of a break, but we're going to come back to you next week. Real Fans Podcast. Thank you. See you next week. Peace.
Peace out, everybody.